Peace, family. Y'all know who it is. It's Bakari Lumumba, back once again, the progenitor of LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative where we believe we can gain a competitive advantage by always betting on Black. Back once again with a dual stream with Beacline Network, the Pan African social media extraordinaire, and the home of African Center News and Information. And we're going to be discussing a topic that typically we don't cover here at Lumumba Speaks and Beacline Network, rather more so a celebrity issue, athlete issue, and that is, of course, Deshaun Watson's career, right? Many of you may be aware of Deshaun Watson, the star quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, um, received, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, a record-setting $230 million contract, nearly $250 million, in which it was completely guaranteed. Oftentimes in the NFL, a person could receive a contract, but only half or maybe 60 or 70% of the funds or the money at a contract is guaranteed. Deshaun Watson received a fully guaranteed $230 million contract. However, he's been in the news, right? For many would argue for the wrong reasons. His poor play was last season. I don't watch the NFL, but I was told by a litany of people that he did not play well in the game against the Dallas Cowboys. And many are arguing that maybe this is one of the worst trades of recent memory in NFL history. However, there's another issue, another caveat that we're going to look to cover regarding this issue, and this is, of course, the latest accusation of sexual impropriety against Deshaun Watson. One could even argue that this goes much further than the issue of sexual impropriety. But if you're watching, family, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Make sure you hit the subscribe and the notification bell as well. So this is an issue I think that we definitely want to cover on a number of fronts. One, we know Black men historically have been stereotyped as being congenitally predators, right? This is something that, of course, was encompassed during the Arab and European conquest of Africa, then, of course, legalized, codified socially and even legally in the United States during the Holocaust of enslavement. This concept that Black men are inherently, they're diseased at birth, they're congenital predators, right? This predatory behavior, I think, is rather an issue of concern. Of course, the link is in the description, family, and then we're going to put the link in the chat later on. And so the question really comes, why? I think there was maybe 60, 70, 80 women who made accusations against him regarding sexual impropriety and relating to receiving massages, maybe 3 years ago, before the big deal, of course, with the Cleveland Browns. And many would argue, okay, he was never found guilty in the court of law, which is very true. However, these were civil suits. Many would argue just making all things equal and fair. If this man engaged in conduct that was unbecoming, that was criminal, that was untoward, that was not above board, why aren't you filing criminal? Why are you going after him civilly? Many would argue it's a money grab. This latest situation goes beyond, the accusation goes beyond simply sexual impropriety, but it makes the argument that he actually sexually assaulted someone, actually raped a young lady. So I'm going to put the link in the chat, family. The link is in the description, and we're going to get really dig deep into this, why this is an issue of concern. So I'm going to go ahead and read. So the NFL says it's reviewing a civil suit filed against Deshaun Watson of sexual assault and battery in October of 2020 when he was a member of the Houston Texans. The NFL says we are reviewing the complaint and we will look into the matter under the personal conduct policy, not looking at commissioner's exempt list as there's been no formal charges and the league's review has just begun, said league spokesperson Brian McCarthy. The lawsuit, so of course, this is a lawsuit that was filed in Harris County. If you don't know, Harris County is the largest, most populous county in Texas. And of course, Houston is the county seat. Harris County, Texas, alleged accusations occurred before Watson and a woman who goes by the pseudonym Jane Doe in the court filing was set to have dinner at the woman's apartment. The lawsuit states that Watson met the woman, a single mother, at a Houston restaurant and bar, managed to get her phone number, initially attempted to have her meet him at the Houston Galleria for a date. Reluctant to meet Watson in public, the woman instead agreed to a dinner date at her apartment, according to the lawsuit. On the evening of the date, according to the lawsuit, she said Watson had trouble finding her apartment and began aggressively yelling and screaming at her on the phone, saying he didn't have time for this. The lawsuit alleges that while applying makeup in her bathroom, the woman then found Watson completely naked on her bed, lying face down on his stomach. Watson then requested the woman massage his buttocks and the woman tried to appease Watson by rubbing his back rather than his buttocks, according to the lawsuit. Watson then turned over and continued to demand that Jane Doe massage him, gesturing from his knees to his groin. According to the lawsuit, the woman told Watson that she was not a masseuse, to which Watson asked her what she wanted to do instead, the suit alleges. Before the woman could answer, Watson partially disrobed Jane Doe and penetrated her vagina without consent, implicit or explicit, according to the lawsuit, which also alleges that Watson sexually assaulted the woman for several minutes before she escaped and grabbed a heavy piece of decor for self-defense. Watson then stormed out of Jane Doe's apartment, according to the lawsuit. So these are the accusations that have been made. We know in 2022, Watson served an 11-game suspension due to more than 24 women accusing him of sexual assault and inappropriate conduct during massage sessions. A pair of Texas grand juries declined to pursue criminal charges against Watson, but he served a suspension after the NFL and NFL Players Association reached a settlement in his disciplinary matter. Watson also had to pay a fine of $5 million to undergo mandatory evaluation by behavioral experts and followed a suggested treatment program before being reinstated by the league. Watson settled 23 of the 24 lawsuits filed against him in the summer of 2022. So I misspoke. I said 50, 60, 70. Of course, that was hyperbole, as we find. It was 24, 24 lawsuits were filed against him. And of course, in March of 2022, the Browns traded six draft picks, including 3 first-round picks for Watson, and gave him a fully guaranteed $230 million deal, which was an NFL record at the time. Some are arguing that the Cleveland Browns may seek to actually void the contract with Deshaun Watson based on moral turpitude, right? So this is an actual issue when you can actually oftentimes, right, void a contract based on misconduct of the employee that poorly represents, of course, the company that employee works for. Moral turpitude. We saw this maybe about 2 years ago with Mel Tucker at Michigan State University, head football coach. He, of course, had his contract nullified for cause. He was fired for cause, and part of their reasoning for not paying him the rest of his contract was, of course, the fact that he engaged in conduct that was considered to be of moral turpitude. So this is an issue. Mr. Sandman states, in Texas, the statute of limitations is 30 years for sexual assault. Civil suits, no statute of limitations for criminal sexual assault, which is what it shouldn't be. So tap in, family. I think this is an important conversation to have. Is Deshaun Watson's career likely over? We maybe can speculate as to why he's engaging in these type of behaviors. What does his behavior say for the black male image on a macro level? We know Deshaun Watson, he's in his prime of his life in terms of athletic. I think he's 28, 29 years old. I think he's 28 actually. He's tall. I think they said he's 6'2", charismatic, handsome. He's the star quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, one of the more iconic franchises, at least in my opinion, in the NFL. That may be the Ohio in here. However, he's allegedly engaging in these type of improprieties that gives individuals pause, right? And so, once again, it kind of reinforces, in my opinion, that stereotype that black men are predators, right? Particularly sexual predators. We know this is, of course, an anti-black misandric type of world view of black men. But this is, of course, an issue that I think should be discussed. And if you're watching on Twitter, I'm going to actually put the link in the comments on Twitter so you all can tap in as well and be part of the conversation. But the question is Deshaun Watson's career likely over, right? We could combine that and all things in between based on, of course, his play, which many argue has been horrendous. And then, of course, the fact that, these accusations continue to come to the forefront, right? And of course, we can even dissect and discuss why. Some would argue, so somebody's saying go Cowboys, got it, right? Why would an individual, if they were sexually assaulted, file a civil suit rather than a criminal suit, right? I've never been in that situation, thank God, and hopefully I never will. So I can't speak to why someone would do that, but many are arguing who are defenders of of Deshaun Watson, that this may simply be a money grab. So once again, family, the link is in the description. The link is, of course, in the chat. I've put the chat in on Twitter. So definitely, hopefully, you all could tap in, be part of the conversation, have a robust conversation regarding a number of issues. And I think we could even tie in because we're talking NFL, which is not something that we typically do. We could talk about, of course, do with the wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins, Tyreek Hill, as well. So, um, Mr. Sandman, what say you? How you doing today?
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm at work right
I'm
now. I
doing
can't talk real long, but
okay.
yeah, yeah, I was going to say that a lot of times in this situation, I don't think it's a color issue. I think it's a situation where you just got to realize that as these guys that are extreme high level athletes, they have like a mentality that makes them different than the rest of us. Whereas though he might have like some type of narcissistic disorder, mental disorder, where he thinks that he can do no wrong, but that same mentality is what got him to the position that he's in. So I think that as a
I'm sorry. Are you saying that he thinks he's above the law, or that he can't? He's not held to the same standards as other people.
yeah, in his head he
A
probably
level of
thinks that.
okay.
Yeah, in his head, he probably thinks that he's above the law, and you'll see that that's pretty common amongst professional athletes, where their egos will be so large that they think that they could do no wrong and they could do whatever they want to do. And some of these situations, it gets covered up by the NFL because it is a business, but as the NFL knows, they have to like understand that there's give and take, because you can't have a docile, scared person out there with all those gladiators that won't commit any crimes, but at the same time, if you got to pay like a raging maniac, 100 and $200 million to play football, but it'll bring back profits and triple that, then you just got to weigh your options and make sure these athletes don't break the law.
Well, I think that's an interesting point because coming out of college, NFL draft, he went to Clemson, won a national championship, went to two national title games, and however, right, he won one. When coming out of Clemson, the coach at Clemson, his name is escaping me, Dabo Sweeney. They raved about his character, right? That he was the type of young man you would want to introduce to your daughter, right? This is what was said about him leading up in the draft process. However, we're finding something completely different. This reminds me of Kobe Puckett, who of course transitioned many years ago. Baseball Hall of Famer, played for the Minnesota Twins. I think he won 2 World Series, was a batting champion, even won an MVP. And he was known as for being a great character guy, the work he did in the community. When he retired, information came out that he was abusive to his wife, that he had several adulterous affairs. That I mean, like the dude was just living wild. So I think part of this is that we typically don't know what a person is like behind closed doors, right? And so we can make the argument that some of what we're finding or seeing is a level of marketing, right? We don't want this to be the case. I don't think anyone would want someone, irrespective of what the profession is, to be engaging in these type of illicit sexual exploits and type of behaviors, particularly when people are dealing with physical harm, right? But once again, it is an issue of concern because this seems to be a reoccurring issue, and this isn't just an issue of sexual impropriety where he's having trying to get happy endings at the end of massage. This is a situation where it's being alleged that he literally sexually assaulted someone.
Right. And there's no evidence to prosecute him legally or criminally, because the victim, or the person who alleged victim, claims is filing the suit several years after the incident happened, so there
Right.
was no rape kit on it. However, yeah, like you said, it looks like he's a one of those guys that's a chronic or chronic offender when it comes to attacking women. So that might be like an idea that he has like some type of mental problem, whereas though he can't like control his urges to try to
Yeah,
dominate people, dominate women that he
it's
thinks are.
looking like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And
yeah.
I mean, for him to be reinstated in the NFL, he had to actually meet with, of course, psychologists, right, and go through some type of therapy or what have you. So, I mean, this is an issue. Like I personally, in today's climate, the era of Me Too, I don't. I think his career may be over. You combine that with his play, I think his career may be over. I mean, look what happened to Ray Rice. Of course, there was a video there that led to, of course, him no longer playing. But Ray Rice was actually on the downside of his career, right? I can see a situation here where he doesn't play football anymore. If so, he's going to have to go to Canada.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, he signed a contract for $260 million, like you said. So if he was playing great football, at of course, maybe, and I'm not saying of course, but there's a good chance that the NFL or the Browns would have paid the alleged victim to keep it to shut up about it. But
Mhm.
being that this is getting out and she's filing a lawsuit for X amount of dollars that the NFL can easily play off to keep her quiet, then obviously they the Browns don't no longer want to be subject or be committed to the contract that they gave him because they don't feel that he's worth the asset. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of whenever the Browns did the investigation on Deshaun Watson and decided to sign him to that contract, that they had their criminal teams or their special investigators investigate all the potential aspects of anything that he could be accused of in the future,
Right,
and they decided to take a chance on it. And it just so happens that he's not worth the investment anymore, so that they're allowing the litigation to happen to like smear his name so that they can get from under that contract.
right. And many people made that argument when he was in Houston. He refused to play for the organization, and they made the argument. This, of course, is conspiratorial in nature that um, the Houston Texans conjured up these accusations to so they didn't have to pay him. Some are arguing, of course, the same thing with the Cleveland Browns. But like I said, this is an issue of concern. Like this is a cause of concern. Like, it seems that he has a history, right, of almost compulsive behavior in terms of being sexually violent towards women. Once again, this is an accusation. We do know that civilly, the burden of proof isn't as high as in the criminal justice system, right? So you oftentimes can win a civil case on circumstantial evidence. But like I said, this is an issue, and so the question is, family, if you're watching, is Deshaun after this latest accusation, is Deshaun Watson's career over? Tap in. The link is in the description. The link is in the chat. I've also, if you're watching on Twitter, and I see we have quite a few viewers on Twitter, I've actually put the link to this conversation in the comment section. So if you go on, you should be able to click on that link, add to the conversation. Definitely want to hear what you all have to say. But so let me ask you this question, Mr. Sandman, and you're a frequent contributor. Appreciate you always tapping in. And we kind of did this when we did a show on Diddy as well. Let's say when the smoke clears, we find out that everything that was alleged is true. Would you still consider Deshaun Watson a brother? Did you hear me? Brother Sandman, you may be breaking up on us. Okay, yeah. So we had some technical difficulties there. Hopefully he'll be able to come back, tap back in. So come out fighting says, of course, go Cowboys. Got you. I take it you're a Cowboys fan. But once again, the link is in the chat, family. The link is in the description. Tap in, be part of the conversation. If you're watching, make sure you hit the subscribe and the like button. Hit the notification bell as well. If you're watching, of course, a dual stream, LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative where we believe we could gain a competitive advantage by always betting on Black, and Beacon Network, and Pan African social media extraordinaire, and the home of African-centered news and information. Brother Sandman, did you hear my last question?
No, as soon as you said the D word.
Okay, yeah. You seem, it sounds like you're breaking up there a little bit. So I said, if everything comes out, they go to court, the accusations are true, would you still consider Deshaun Watson a brother? Did you hear my question? Did you hear me? Yeah, I think we're having some technical difficulties on your end. Yeah, definitely having some technical difficulties. But tap in, family. The link is in the description. Link is in the chat. I want to hear what you all have to say regarding the latest accusations against Deshaun Watson. Of course, the question is his career over? As I stated before, yes, before Deshaun Watson was reinstated to the NFL, he had to meet with several behavioral experts, right, and follow their suggested treatment program before being reinstated to the league. This is an issue. Many are making the argument that this may be collusion on the part of the young lady who has, of course, been identified as Jane Doe in the suit. She's being represented by Tony Busby, who is the same individual that represented the majority of the women in the 2022 civil lawsuit. So this, of course, is something to consider. And once again, we do know that Deshaun Watson received a fully guaranteed $230 million deal from it, which at the time was an NFL record. So let's see here. So you say, okay, got cut off soon, as you said, did he? Okay, got you. So tap in, family. Definitely want to hear what you all have to say about this issue. Is Deshaun Watson's career likely over? What does this say for the Black male image? We do know, I think there was a cult leader in Atlanta, Black man, who, of course, was found guilty and given life for engaging in some type of sexually perversive, deviant type behavior. We see the accusations with Puff Daddy. Is this an issue in the Black community? All right, so we really can open the conversation up. Want to hear what you all have to say. So the link is in the description. Link is in the chat. You're watching the dual stream, Beacon Network, the Pan African social media extraordinaire, and of course, LumumbaSpeaks.com, where we believe we can gain a competitive advantage by always, keyword always, betting on Black. We don't typically focus on celebrity issues of athletes. Maybe we'd finally do a show one day on the Jordan LeBron debate. I'm quite sure we get a lot of views on that, but we typically like to focus on serious issues in the global African community. I mean, of course, on the continent and throughout the diaspora. But I just felt compelled to do a show on this issue because I find this, of course, to be troubling, particularly the accusation, right? We know Deshaun Watson has been accused of improprieties, right? Even maybe some would argue deviant behavior, right? Asking for happy endings at the end of a massage. But this is an issue in which it is alleged that he actually sexually assaulted someone. The key word would be RAPE, forcibly derobed someone. And then, of course, from what I read in the lawsuit, and you can read the article on ESPN.com, that he forcibly penetrated the young lady for several minutes before she was able to escape. This is just an issue of concern, very graphic. So we don't want to legislate the issue of what was alleged. But I think this is an issue of concern. And my thoughts is that he may be, combined with his, of course, less than stellar play in these accusations. I would hope that there won't be any new accusations past 2022. But if so, I think his career likely will be over. So definitely hope you all could tap in, family, be part of the conversation. Once again, if you're watching on Twitter, I posted, of course, the StreamYard link to, of course, come in and be part of the conversation. If you're watching on YouTube, you already know what to do. The link's in the description. The link is in the chat. Tap in and be part of the conversation. You're watching the dual stream here with Beacon Network and, of course, LumumbaSpeaks.com. And we're seeking to have a great conversation regarding the latest accusations against Deshaun Watson and the keyword is his career likely over? Is his career likely over? So definitely tap in, be part of the conversation. I'm looking forward to hearing from you all in terms of what do you think? Should he continue to receive the community support based on these accusations, right? We did a show referencing the situation with Diddy as well. And of course, should he be considered a member of the community if he was, of course, responsible or guilty of the accusations that were made? And then shortly after the video came out with Cassie, um, once again, some alleged that, of course, in the video he made, it was trying to recover something that was stolen from him. We don't know, that is speculation, but of course, the video for many was a cause for concern. And so the question is, are these individuals, if they are, keyword is if, engaging in this type of activity, this type of behavior, should they still be members of the community? Right? Many make the argument they should always be members of the community, and that, of course, we don't want to turn them over to the criminal justice system, because we know the criminal justice system is inherently racist at every level, historical, and contemporarily, local, state, and federal. All of these things are true. The boys even talked about that type of dichotomy in the Black community in terms of having a soft space in the hearts for criminals, miscreants in the Black community, be due to the fact that we know that the criminal justice system is inherently anti-Black and racist. So these are issues of concern that I think it would be great for us to actually have a conversation about this afternoon. If you're watching, once again, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe as well, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. You're watching Lumumba Speaks here on YouTube, and we're doing a dual broadcast, of course, with Beacon Network. And so, of course, one of the questions would be, how do we combat these issues? I would think, of course, as someone who has a daughter, that you should never have a first date at your own home. This leads me to think of the scene in, I think, the Tyler Perry movie, which, of course, was extracted from a play, For Color Girls, where the sister who, great actress, by the way, she invites the brother over and he sexually assaults her in her apartment on the first date, right? And this guy turned out, of course, this is a movie, but turned out to be a serial sexual assaulter, and he later died, of course, in the movie. So these are, of course, issues of concern, um, right? And so, I mean, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around the fact that you would go to someone's apartment and do something like that. I mean, it's hard for someone such as myself to wrap my mind around that. And then the question would be, if this is true, keyword if, because this is merely an accusation, where's your head at? As Brother Sandman say, do you have a behavioral issue? Is this compulsive? Is this serial? We don't know. But I do know that these type of accusations are issues of concern. I don't typically jump the gun, because we do know that historically individuals make false accusations all the time, particularly against Black men and black women. And then historically, the end result was what we as the song goes, Southern beat trees bear strange fruit. So definitely understand that issue. But man, this is really something that's hard for me to wrap my head around. Truly something for me to wrap my head around, that you would go to someone's home on the first time you're invited there and engage in this type of conduct. I mean, man, you're talking about unbecoming, right? To say the least, right? Unbecoming. It definitely is. So hopefully, family, you all are able to tap in, be part of the conversation. Once again, if you're watching on Twitter, and I don't know if you all have any technical difficulties on Twitter, but if you want to join the conversation, I'll put the link in the comments, so you should be able to tap in and be part of the conversation. Definitely want to hear what you all have to say about this issue. Also, just a caveat, you do not have to use your real name to be part of the conversation, and you do not have to cam up. I know many of you want to maintain your anonymity, right? You want to maintain your identity. You may have some perspectives that are maybe socially unacceptable, maybe non-traditional, right? Maybe politically incorrect. And so with that being said, just want to make you all aware that you can be part of the conversation without, of course, divulging who you are. So with that being all things being equal, definitely want you all to be part of the conversation this afternoon. I'm sorry. So tap in, be part of the conversation. Want to hear what you all have to say regarding Deshaun Watson, and if you believe his career is likely over. If you believe his career is likely over. So Be part of the conversation. Once again, the link is in the description. The link is in the chat. Definitely want to hear from you all regarding this issue. You do not have to cam up, and you do not, keyword, do not have to use a pseudonym. You do not have to use your actual name, and you do not have to cam up to be part of this conversation. So just want to make sure you all are aware of that. Do not. You do not have to cam up. You do not have to use your actual name to be part of the conversation on this afternoon. But I know there's a lot of NFL fans, a lot of people, of course, love the Brownies. Share with us your thoughts on this issue. Is Deshaun Watson's career likely over? Why do you think this is an issue? And then we'll take it from there. Mr. Sandman, you're back.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to give it one more time, one more
Okay.
shot. I'm outdoors. See if that'll help a little bit. Hopefully, the wind don't cause too much issues.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, you said you were going to ask about oh yeah. So the presidential debate is tonight, right?
I am aware.
Yeah, so I put I put money on that this incident is going to be brought up
Mm,
during the debate.
wow. Okay. How so?
Oh, that'll be the angle that I think what's her name, Kamala Harris will take when she starts debating Trump, because Trump got accused of sexual assault, right?
Yes.
And this is hot. This is a hot topic in the news. So she'll
Okay.
just associate Trump being accused of sexual assault with my man over here, that Deshaun Watson, getting accused of sexual assault, and then she'll say, "Well, I used to be a prosecutor of California, blah blah blah, and
Okay.
I'll lock up men like this that's, always that's attacking women,
Right.
and bring them to justice."
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, yeah, this would definitely be a scene that that they'll use as a political stunt. I'm not saying that this happened and it was due to politics, but I can almost like guarantee that it's going to be part of the discussion tonight.
Got you. And of course, coming out fighting says, I think he gets off on the anticipation and the planning of having sex. I think a lot of people may get off on it, but I don't see how that would equate to physically, sexually assaulting someone. So definitely tap in, come out fighting, be part of the conversation. Definitely hope you can, of course, do a deeper dive on a comment so we can understand where you're coming from and why you're, of course, making an argument. But the question I had, Mr. Sandman, was if we find that the accusations made against Deshaun Watson are true, should he still be considered? Should he continue to be considered a member of the Black community?
Oh, considered it a member of the Black community?
Yes.
Uh, I mean, I don't think that's something that you could just take away. He is what he is,
Well, yeah,
you
I mean,
know.
you can in certain ways, in certain instances, in terms of someone being persona non grata, right? In terms of this person being excommunicated, this is someone that we as a community in macro level choose not to deal with.
Right? Yeah, that's true. And then, when if you do a stint in prison, a lot of times, like people who are sexual assaulters that assault, women and children, you know, they get um they get abused when they go to prison as well.
Yes,
So that
yes,
might be
very
something
true.
that he'd have to deal with if he ever had to do some time in the joint.
Right.
Um, but as for he's definitely not somebody that you would want your kids to have to look up to. But then at the same time, with all of these women bringing up all of these allegations, I can't really get into the mind of the individual like that's a serial sexual assaulter like this. So I don't really. it almost seems like, because this ain't the only time. Because you remember Bill Cosby,
Yes.
he got accused of sexually assaulting a whole lot of women too.
Yes.
So yeah, so some people were saying that it was fake, that it was they're just trying to ruin his image so that he couldn't do this, that, and the third. So I don't know. I don't even know what to think, because sometimes you try to put yourself in the shoes of other people to understand why they might do this, that, or whatever they're doing, but I can't really understand the mentality of a person that thinks it's okay to continually sexually assault women over and over like that.
I mean, we're talking about sexually assault anyone. I mean, it's like, what the fuck?
Right. Well, there's been instances where you might have
Allegedly.
been younger.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. I mean, we've all had. I mean, I'm not saying all of us, but we've had instances where we've been like, messing around with a female or something like that, um, and sometimes women say that they don't want you to try, so you keep pursuing the female, and then she could take that as sexual assault, or not sexual assault, or maybe sexual harassment, but you were just trying to, um, court the woman. So there's that gray area in between when the man is courting a woman in the
Well,
culture that we live in.
so I think there's a difference between courting and harassment, right? So what? And I think the gray area that you're talking about is if a woman's playing hard to get, right? Or if the woman simply wants the guy to try harder. So I remember I could recall this is back when I was in college. This is a long time ago, and I expressed my interest in a sister, and she just was like, "Oh, okay, that's nice," right? And so I actually went back home. I said, "Damn, she ain't really." And she literally was like, "Okay, if you have an interest, you're gonna have to show me. You can't just have one conversation with me, right?" But harassment to me, and I think this is even congruent with the law, is the person says, "I'm not interested in you in that way. Please don't express any overtures towards me," and you continue to do so. That's the problem. When someone says, "No, I'm not interested," you gotta leave them alone.
Yeah, but we know that in work environments, if a woman she doesn't necessarily have to express or say the words no, and she can still have like litigation against the
But
company
yeah, yeah,
or the
because
other employee.
that's because, and that isn't just a woman; it could be anyone. There are certain behaviors on the job that are just inappropriate. So you shouldn't be making sexual jokes, right? Sexual innuendos, showing pictures that would be considered racy. Those are examples of sexual harassment. Having
Right,
conversations or about your sexual conquest, male or female, those are behaviors on the job that are just outright unbecoming.
right.
So that doesn't have to be a situation where, hey, somebody's trying to hit on Bakari. Hey, the fact that you're even making those comments about what you did this past weekend with your boyfriend or fiance or girlfriend or whoever is inappropriate and is an example of sexual harassment.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, sometimes co-workers will have a relationship outside of the
Mm-hmm.
workplace, and
Yes.
then once they no longer have that relationship outside of the workplace,
Mm-hmm.
or one of the people inside of this relationship don't feel that that the relationship is over, then the other one could take things in the wrong way, and then
Right.
get accused of sexual harassment that way too. That's what I
But
mean by the gray area. And
yes, but
then
that's
by
why
him,
if I briefly interject, that's why I always state on my platform, our position is you should never have a romantic relationship with anyone that you work with ever. Our position here at Lumumba Speaks, and I believe I even speak for Bitcoin Network, is you never dip your pen in company ink. You never fish out the company pier, ever, on any circumstances, for any reason whatsoever.
yep, and even
That
big and
that is my
small,
position. This is a position I've held since I got my first job when I was a junior or senior in high school.
yep, it's like getting high on your own supply. You know,
Right, ever. Keyword ever.
yeah,
EVA, ever, right?
Right. Yep, and that's a mistake a lot of people make, and it's unfortunate that we live in a society where the majority of us have to be at work, you know, around your coworkers more than you could be at home with your significant other or your family, and relationships start to grow that way too, and people have a habit of, especially when you have men and women working in the same establishment, whereas the relationships start to spark, when they spend a lot of time with each other.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
So it is an issue of concern once again. Uh, so my question to you is: do you believe that Deshaun Watson's career is likely over?
Oh yeah, yeah. I would say it's about, I would say about 70%, 70% over. Yeah, 70. I mean, it's a chance that he's a smart guy, I assume. So I think he might be able to squirm himself out of it, because here's the thing, like just like we were saying, there's personal relationships, and then there's professional relationships. So the what his attorney could claim is that he thought that the woman was a masseuse, and that's why he laid in on her bed naked, waiting to get massaged.
I mean, I
And
think that
she
would be
thought it
a
was
bit of a stretch because typically if you're a masseuse, you're going to have a massage table.
right. Yeah, that is a stretch. But like you said, the burden of proof is on the plaintiff, and she didn't, get a rape kit done after she said that Deshaun Watson penetrated her. So it's going to be her word against his.
Right, that is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
But as far as the NFL is concerned, like, yeah, um they're trying to expand their brand to women and children, so they can't have, like, one of their biggest stars being accused of sexually assaulting the women. So they're going to try to get rid of him, but the players also have a union. So as union rep representing and state that you can't, uh, do anything to my client if you have no proof of him doing anything illegal or unbecoming of an athlete. So
Right, understood. Understood. I
yeah.
understand 100%. This is an issue of concern. So once again, family, if you're watching, you feel free to tap in. Once again, you do not have to use your real name, and you do not have to cam up to be part of the conversation. We're discussing the latest accusations against Deshaun Watson, and of course, asking the question: is his career likely over? Tap in to be part of the conversation. The link is in the description. The link is in the chat. You're watching Lumumba Speaks and Bequalon Network here on YouTube. So let me ask you this question: what are your thoughts on the Tyreek Hill situation?
Oh yeah, that's another topic that's going to get brought up in a debate tonight. So Kamala Harris will mention that Trump had got accused of sexual assault on multiple occasions, and she'll also bring up his immunity stance for police officers. So yeah, all of that stuff will get politicized tonight on national television. As for, like, what the cops did, yeah, I mean, they blew it. But I think he did break the law, right? They said he was going 100 miles per hour in the 50.
Yes.
Yeah. So technically, you could get
Well, I heard it
arrested.
was 60 and a 40. He was going 60 and a 40.
Oh, was it 16 to 40? Oh, I
That's
heard
what I,
like
yes.
different reports.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if it's just 16 to 40, and then we're going to give them a but then again, if it was only 20 miles over the speed limit, why would there be like so many police officers there? that seemed like just a basic uh
Overkill.
yeah, that seems like overkill. Like normally they would have like backup like that if they thought it was like if the police officers thought that there was a chance that they would have to arrest someone. And normally
Right.
when the police officers feel that they might have to arrest someone, they'll make sure they have plenty of backup in case something goes wrong. So yeah, there had to be what 4 or 5 officers there on bikes. So hmm,
Yeah, and I think the primary issue for me is when they told him to get out the vehicle, get out the car, and he acquiesced and said, "Okay, I'm getting out the car," and literally stepped out the vehicle, and then they just grabbed him and threw him on the ground.
hmm
That's the issue for me. He's complying. He's actually following your orders, and he's physically assaulted anyway.
right, yeah, yeah. That's that's the case. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've been like in a situation. I ain't never been a police officer before, but when I was in the military and I had to do some security stops for the local nationals at checkpoints, you know, I know that feeling there. It could get like a little racy or kind of intense when you trying to tell somebody to do something and they're not complying. You know,
Yeah, but the issue was he did comply
right, right,
actively. They said, "Get out the car." He said, "Okay."
hmm
He stepped out the car. They threw his ass on the ground.
right, yeah, yeah. And then we are talking about Miami too. So they see a black man in a in an expensive car in Miami that's known for importing all kinds of street pharmaceuticals. You know, they probably
Right, but that in itself is illegal. You can't say a type of that's prejudice. You can't prejudice someone in that manner, and just make the presumption that because they have a nice vehicle that somehow, some way they're engaging in illicit activity. That in itself is unconstitutional.
right, that is unconstitutional. And that's that gray area that police officers had to deal with. So
I would argue it's not a gray area; it's an illegal area.
right.
That's what I would argue. That
But
it's
like
illegal.
let's say for instance that, you know, he was a um a criminal on the run
Hmm.
and he had a weapon in his vehicle and he told in his windows tinted out and he had a really fast car, right? And let's say you were the police officer that stopped him, right? And he said, and you told him to keep your window down so I could see you. And he tell you no, and you say okay, and then he shoots you through the window and then take off again.
Right. So one, I don't like dealing with hypotheticals because that's not what transpired. Right. The second issue, I understand that from a police standpoint, if you have tint, they can't see inside the vehicle. They're going to want you to keep the window down. I understand that completely. The only issue I have with what took place was when they told him to step outside the vehicle. He says, "Okay," and he steps outside his vehicle. They literally then physically assaulted him, grabbed him, threw him on the ground, put their knee in his back, and put him in a chokehold. That was not needed or necessary. He actually was physically complying with what he was told to do.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. Yeah, I think
Because
it was
and
a
the reason why I'm pushing back in that manner is because this is what happened. The police officer would do something that is incongruent with their standard operating procedure, SOP, incongruent with protocol, incongruent with that district's policy. And then they would say, well, but what if this person did X, Y, Z? But we can't deal with what if, we got to deal with what was. Right? And so they're trying to criminalize a person or somehow infer that this person was engaged in activity that they weren't actually engaging in. Well, we didn't know if you was in there cooking crack. Once again, what that really goes to is, making an inflammatory statement that is going to stick because you can't unring the bell. So people are going to say,
Right.
well, he wasn't cooking crack, but what if he was? So we're going to side on we're going to err on the side of law enforcement. This happens even in the court of law where, just say an attorney wants to get something on the record, but they know the judge would argue against it. So they might just say something anyway and then say, you know what, I was saying the question, just to put it out there because you can't unring the bell.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about the last time you was accused of assaulting someone. And then you can't bring up, past cases because it doesn't have anything to do with this case. Then they say, you know what, of course, your attorney is going to say objection, right? Bringing up issues that of no relevance to this case. You know what? I'm sorry, Your Honor. I withdraw the question. But now the jury's heard that, hey, this man has been accused of assaulting someone in the past.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm talking about?
Right.
So that's why I don't like to, even try to go down those type of rabbit holes because it's a level, it's a level, in my opinion, of legal sleight of hand. It's a form of legal sleight of hand. And I'm not even an attorney, but this is something, of course, that I am aware and cognizant of.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think one of the benefits, you could say that the best thing was that he stayed calm. I don't think anyone would like to be in a situation where you're not doing anything wrong and you're being manhandled by anyone, let alone the police. It's one thing if you're an armed fugitive and you're armed and dangerous and you're one of the 6 states, and you could probably understand that. But the fact that this was just a traffic infraction, speeding. I've never been arrested for speeding, but I've been ticketed for speeding before. In fact, I can recall the first time when I first moved to Columbus, I got a ticket for speeding, and the officer, I had just came from the gym, so I had like my gym attire, and the officer was like yelling. I'm like, dude, why are you yelling? You're right here next to me, right, speaking to me through the window, and my window was down, and he said, well, I don't have good hearing in my other ear, and I said, well, one, I don't believe you. Because if you had a hearing impairment, you would be on desk duty. There's no way they would have you out on the road. And so I felt, and this is just my view, that he was trying to bully me because he was intimidated by my physique.
Oh yeah. That happens a lot. Oh yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah, that's happened to me on multiple occasions as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and unfortunately, if you're Black in America, you've experienced situations like this to where a police officer will show up to an incident in what we call the hood, the neighborhood. And instead of de escalating, they are the aggressors. They're actually trying to foment some type of violent interaction with themselves and, of course, the civilian population. I grew up seeing this. Could you speak to
Right.
that as well, Mr. Sandman?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You saying that? Can I speak to police officers being extra aggressive with
Yes, being
people with
aggressive when they're supposed. They're trained, keyword
uh
trained, to actually de-escalate a situation.
right. No, well, I think it's dependent on the precinct or the area that they deal with. So if they're in an area where they think that the public is a little bit more dangerous, or they automatically like just label us, particularly black men, as being more dangerous than other people for whatever reason. And as they label us being more dangerous, they take a different stance, on the situation. Hello.
I'm here. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know if you was my bad. Yeah, they automatically label us as being a little bit more dangerous because we are um naturally a little bit stronger than most other people. You know, just men in general, but especially black men. So they figure that they have to take more of an aggressive stance with us. You know, to take the dominant position. It's kind of like the alpha male and the beta male in the pack of wolves. You if you the alpha male has to show that he's more powerful, more aggressive to keep the beta male in control. So or the beta dog in control. You know, So that's the stance that they take. So they'll just say, well, we'll just show that I show the authority over the black person to make sure that I stay in control of the situation. Because if he feels that he's more dominant than me, then I could lose control of the situation. A lot
Yeah,
of
it
times,
sounds
if
yeah,
you
it
think
sounds
that,
like ego policing to me.
right, yeah, I mean, when people are there's the fight or flight thing too. So when a person feels like they might be in danger, they can either run or they can fight. And sometimes if he feels that he's in danger because he associates black people with being something dangerous, then he'll just get aggressive, right, to protect himself from being harmed. But at the same time, if he was around like a woman or something, he wouldn't feel threatened. Therefore, he wouldn't get aggressive because he don't feel that the woman can hurt him.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So, family, if you're watching, make sure you tap in and be part of the conversation, particularly if you're on Twitter. I know we have a number of viewers on Twitter. Once again, if you go on my profile on Twitter, uh, I've put the link on so that you can tap in and be part of the conversation this afternoon. So, of course, we're discussing Deshaun Watson, his career likely being over, potentially being over, but we're also talking about the Tyreek Hill arrest. And yeah, I just, I think it's ego policing. I've been in a position before when I was a park ranger. So I know what it's like to be on the other side of the law. I just, once again, just from a principle standpoint, from a value standpoint, from being a professional, I don't move that way. Um, so once again, this is an issue of concern. We're happy that he was safe, but once again, it's the fact that he was complying. He was doing what the officers were saying, and he still was snatched up and thrown on the ground. And according from what was reported, he was even put in a chokehold.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but and I really want to push when you made a comment, well, whatever, because I was, well, how do I know that? I said I want to hear that crap. Right? You can't run that type of game on me. As a matter of fact, Michelle Alexander discusses this in her book, The New Jim Crow. If you haven't read it, make sure you do. She talked about how officers would use precontextual stops, right? So where they would come up, they would have a list of reasons to stop somebody, and then they would just use one of those reasons when they pull you over. Say, oh, we thought such and such and such because, and they're making the whole thing up, like making it up from the get go. So we're talking about precontextual stops. So this is something, of course, to be aware and cognizant of, so that when they try to run that game, you don't fall for it. And this was proven in court, and of course, the plaintiff was able to file a lawsuit and was rewarded significant damages regard from the municipality that the police officer was representing.
Yeah. Anytime you're dealing with a government entity, it's all and particularly when it comes to lawsuits, it's all about statistical analysis. So what the police department will do is they'll just get an insurance policy stating that if
Mm-hmm.
anyone gets sued or harmed by police officers, that the insurance policy will cover that. So
Right.
they'll tell the police officers, well, it's cheaper for me to pay a lawsuit because you rough somebody up a little bit than it would be if I got to pay your family $1 million because you got killed in the stop. So they'll say just continue to be aggressive and make sure that you come home and we don't lose you, so I don't have to pay out the insurance policy to your family if you get killed, you know. And then on top of that, they also got lawyers too. So they'll pay the insurance company and they'll pay lawyers to fight the case in case you try to adjudicate the situation and get money out of it. And then a lot of times what will happen is they could just keep pushing the case out further, further, and further until you just take a settlement. And then
Right.
the insurance company pay that off, which will be like a small percentage of what you could have got had you, waited it out for the whole 10 years, going back and forth to court, which is Trump, which is what Trump is going to do for this one. thing that he got convicted in New York. They're just going to keep pushing it out.
Absolutely, absolutely. So once again, family, if you're watching on Twitter, you want to tap in, be part of the conversation, you can come on YouTube, Lumumba Speaks on YouTube, or of course you can hit the link on Twitter in the comment section to be part of the conversation. We're discussing the latest accusations against Deshaun Watson, of course, that he's been alleged once again to have engaged in sexual impropriety, particularly sexual assault, right? And so, of course, the question is keyword, is his career likely over? Timothy Taylor has made a comment. The team likely is in a collusion with the alleged victim's lawyer, hoping they can use a contractual moral clause to cut Watson without having to pay him the $139 million that they still owe. We know that this was a claim that was many people made uh, by the Houston Texans organization. So Timothy Taylor, tap in, be part of the conversation. Definitely want to hear what you guys have to say on this topic a little bit more. I'm gonna put the link in the chat beneath your comment, and hopefully you can tap in and of course be part of the conversation. So what are your thoughts on that, Brother Sandman? Do you believe the Cleveland Browns are colluding with, of course, Mr. Attorney Busby to try to nullify Mr. Watson's contract for cause, particularly moral turpitude?
Yeah, I mean it's all speculation because I haven't heard uh what's his name, Deshaun Watson, vehemently denied that he was that he wasn't guilty of anything that he's been accused of. Have you?
Well, typically in these situations, it's wise that you speak through your attorney,
Right.
right? So typically, you're not if you're following the advice of your legal team, you don't say a freaking word, right? You listen, you let your attorney speak for you, and then that's how you address the situation. But I do remember there was a press conference that he had, and I believe this was after the settlement or even after he signed with the Browns. But he did state vehemently that, of course, he was innocent of what he was what he had been accused of.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
but the issue was in that press conference, you could say he misspoke, right? And so, of course, the media attacked him for that. But once again, people say that's why you should have your attorney speak for you, because typically your attorney, your lawyer, part of an attorney's job is, of course, to represent the client. We know that not only in court but outside of court, particularly in the court of public opinion, right? So your attorney typically plays a role of being your public relations, of course, manager or point person as well.
right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So has Deshaun Watson spoken on him being set up by the Houston Texans or the Cleveland
I have
Browns?
not heard that. I have not heard that. But once again, I don't follow the NFL very closely or really at all. So that is not something that I would know. But I haven't seen any um, statements or any information in the news that would suggest that he has made that accusation.
Yeah, because I have heard that before
Mhm.
where people were saying that he's getting set up by the Houston Texans or to so that he can't get paid for whatever. But I haven't heard it come out of his mouth that he feels like, they're trying to shaft him or do him dirty or that hasn't come out of his mouth. Or I haven't even heard that come out of his attorney's mouth either.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's just, um, some reporter trying to scrounge up a story to have something juicy to talk about.
Right.
So yeah, just like speculation too. But yeah, but like I said before, most likely is the case is from my understanding, whenever I play sports, I played sports on the high school and the college level. There were certain athletes on the football team, especially if they were extremely talented, they would get away with things that other
Mhm.
people
People couldn't
on
get
the
away with
team
it.
didn't get away with.
Correct.
And we had coaches and other staff on the in the school or in the institution that cover things up for him. So
Right.
being that this is the highest level of the sport in the NFL, clearly if they wanted to protect their athlete and all this, and this person isn't seeking any criminal allegations against him, they could have easily given her hush money to shut the situation up. So that would lead me to believe that because they're not, paying to keep her quiet, that they know they're going to go ahead and allow, the litigation to run its course and try to get out of this contract.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
because he's more of a liability than he is an asset.
at this point, and I would presume that you're making that statement based on his performance on the field.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So this brings up another point. Are you saying that if he was playing like the Deshaun Watson of old, the Deshaun Watson of Houston, that the team would actually go to bat for him?
Oh yeah, I believe so.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting. Okay. So you're saying the team would care. The bottom line is about winning rather than, of course, protecting women.
Right. I think that, and yeah,
Okay. All right.
and
Very good.
and what about the woman who's not seeking any criminal litigation against Deshaun Watson? She's only seeking something civil.
Yes. And there are, of course, we do know there are a number of people who take issue with that. They're making the argument that um, she may be seeking to simply make a money grab, right,
Right.
rather than filing criminal charges, right? And we know that this unfortunately does happen a lot of times. But then the argument once again would be this man is a multimillionaire. You're Deshaun Watson. You're one of the most famous people in Texas, not alone, let alone Houston. Why in the French toast would you put yourself in that type of situation?
Right. Because
Right.
if it was Joe Smo off the street that was 6'2", 250 pounds that she just met in the bar the other day, there's no way she's inviting that man into her house or her apartment all by herself. Like, what woman does that?
Well, I mean, according to the lawsuit, she did, right? And
Yeah.
but no one expects to be sexually assaulted simply because you invite someone over to your home. I mean, that's just
No.
reality. Nor should someone be. Timothy Taylor State says, rather any of this is true or not, Deshaun Watson needs to get married now. I do believe that he reportedly is in a relationship. His reputation is on a R. Kelly level, and he can't get away with having random entanglements anymore. So these are some things to consider. We do know that he is in a relationship from what is reported, and that of course, his boo Bay has stuck by him, uh, despite all of the accusations and legal issues that he's faced. But yeah, this is an issue. This is once again is an issue. But yeah, just want to be careful that we're not blaming the alleged victim. We don't know what happened. These are simply accusations. But if the accusations are true, you don't want to blame someone. Now, of course, we do know that we also want to advocate that people don't put themselves in positions to be harmed, right? So, for example, if you're in a bad neighborhood, that doesn't mean you deserve to be physically assaulted, robbed, shot, anything. However, you also shouldn't go into what a bad neighborhood waving $100 bills above your head, right? Right. We can agree on that, right? Um,
Right.
but maybe young lady felt a level of comfortability. I would argue I would find it strange that this is the individual that you just met and you don't want to go out publicly, but you want to have a date privately. Right. Some would argue maybe the reason for that is because if they did go out somewhere publicly, they wouldn't actually be able to have an actual date. People would be coming up asking for autographs, taking pictures, etc. Right. I think that would be the counter argument to the argument that the defense would make. But I'm quite sure in a city like Houston, which I believe is the fourth largest city in the country behind New York, LA, and Chicago, there are a number of upscale restaurants to where you can have a private, intimate dinner away from the public, to where you don't have to be concerned about people, of course, invading your privacy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course, you don't. invite somebody in your house suspecting to be attacked or anything like that. But we know that this woman knew that he was a wealthy football player. And had he been just, a regular Joe Schmo, there's no way that she would, invite that man into her house. So we know that most likely this woman had intentions on making money one way or the other. Maybe not through.
I would say we don't know that. I would say that is something that one would have to infer, but we don't know what that woman's plans were, what her goal was. What we do know is, according to the complaint, according to, of course, the allegation, she did not plan to be physically assaulted, sexually assaulted, because we don't know what a person's reasoning is, right? So we don't want to speculate, but what we do know is this person did not plan to be sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
Right, and I do know oftentimes that's the belief that, hey, if someone's dealing with someone who's a famous athlete, a celebrity, the person is trying to get paid. I understand that. We do know that this happens. This is extremely prevalent, right? But we don't know that in this case, right? And so we don't want to infer that. What we do know is the young lady, based on the complaint, did not plan. Keyword, did not plan on being sexually assaulted. So that's just something to consider. Once again, family, if you're watching, make sure you hit subscribe and the like button. You're watching LaMumaSpeaks.com here on YouTube, where we believe we could gain a competitive advantage by always betting on Black, as well as Beacon Line Network. We're doing a dual stream this afternoon with Beacon Line Network, the Pan-African home of news and information, right? Pan-African social media extraordinaire, home of Africans in the news and information. And we're discussing, of course, the latest accusation against Deshaun Watson. And of course, the question is this career likely over? Once again, family, if you are watching on Twitter or X, Twitter formerly, now known as X, formerly known as Twitter, the link is in the comment section if you want to tap in and be part of the conversation. We have quite a few viewers on Twitter. Hope you can tap in and be part of the conversation. But Taylor says the NFL will likely have to suspend Watson for 2 years if he loses the lawsuit. So this, of course, is something to consider moving forward. Something to consider. So Timothy Taylor, if you can tap in, once again, you don't have to use your actual name, and you can use a pseudonym, and you do not have to cam up to be part of the conversation. Hope that you could tap in and be part of the convo as well. But once again, yes, I just think it's important that we don't try to infer that this woman was doing something wrong, right? No one plans to be sexually assaulted. So just think that's something that we want to once again keep in the back of our minds when we're looking at this issue and any issue of sexual assault or even sexual impropriety, right? So just something to consider.
Yep.
Very good.
And then who the Browns play next week?
I think they play the Jaguars.
I bet you everybody putting money on the Jags because they think that the quarterback might not play.
That may be the case. That may be the case. But once again, I think the bigger issue is, excuse me, these are civil issues, but it only takes one time for there to be a criminal issue. I mean, for example, the feds may come in and say, hey, we're going to do an investigation regarding sex trafficking, right? That's what happened with R. Kelly, right? That's what's going on right now with Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Sean Combs. So, you have to really tread lightly when you're dealing with these kind of issues because, what you may say is just, I'm just looking to have fun or have a good time, and the police may see it as something completely different.
Yeah, normally the feds get involved if they feel that, you're spending a lot of money illegally and they can't tax it.
Okay, that may be the case. I'm not too sure. I'm not privy to that type of information. But hey, you may be right about that.
Yeah,
Maybe right.
because if you give somebody, think about it. If you give, um, because the if you give somebody $260 million, right, and that person has access to $250 million worth of, financial pool, and the banks can't keep track of that money because you keep, paying for hookers or drugs. The
Mm-hmm.
FBI is going to get involved because they got to find out where that $260 million went, because it's not
Understood.
getting taxed and is floating around in the system where they can't keep track of it, because everything's going digital anyway.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you are a Deshaun Watson and you out paying uh so-called masseuses, $9,999 just so the IRS doesn't, do an audit on the transaction. The FBI is going to say, hey, you're doing this a lot. Where you paying so-called random, just young woman all of this money to give you a massage. That seems a little fishy.
Okay.
Yeah. So they start accusing you of, like, what do you call it? Washing money.
Right. Talking about money laundering. Yeah.
Yeah, laundering money. Right.
Got you. Okay. Very good. Very good. So once again, family, if you're watching, definitely tap in. Definitely want to continue this conversation that we're having. If you're on Twitter, once again, you can use the link that's in the comment section of this video on Twitter to tap in, be part of the conversation. Definitely hope we could get some sisters, of course, to be part of the conversation. Definitely want to have a Black woman share their perspective of course, this type of seeing apparently history of behavior on behalf of Deshaun Watson. And then, of course, we could close out. So, once again, family, if you're watching on YouTube, the link is in the description, the link is in the chat. Once again, you do not have to cam up, be part of the conversation, and you do not have to use your actual name. You can use a pseudonym to protect your identity. If you're watching, once again, a dual stream with Beacon Line Network, the Pan African Social Media Extraordinaire, the home of African Center News and Information, and, of course, themovementspeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative where we believe we can get a competitive advantage by always betting on Black. Here at the Movement Speaks, we are analytically bold, intellectually provocative, analytically bold, and of course, historically insightful. So tap in, be part of the conversation. If not, we're going to get ready to close out. Final thoughts from you, brother Sandman, before we close out.
Yeah. It's a shame that, because things were changing in the NFL, where a lot of young black athletes were getting chances to be the face of NFL franchises. And it's a shame that a young black athlete like Deshaun Watson, who had, the whole world, you know in his hand, to fall victim to his issues or his vices, that's going to put a bad stain on other African American athletes or quarterbacks that get a chance to be the face of a franchise and make big money. He's going to be hurting their potential to make a lot of money. So, this is unfortunate, and just, with great power and great money comes great responsibility. And just, it's unfortunate that, it appears that Deshaun Johnson uh, was irresponsible with all of the power and money that he received.
Yeah, I would have to agree there. And once again, this is the situation that is reminiscent, in my opinion, to Kobe Puckett, right? Kobe Puckett, once again, stated he transitioned back in 2006, but he's a Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, and we know the Major League Baseball has the highest standards of what it takes to get to the Hall of Fame, right? This guy was a two-time World Series champion. Uh, He was a league MVP, has a lifetime average of 318, won a batting title, but was known for having an exemplary character and was seen as one of the ambassadors not only of the Minnesota Twins but also of the Major League Baseball. Right. However, after retirement, a number of reports came out regarding scandals in terms of him physically abusing his wife, threatening to kill her on multiple occasions, and even having numerous extramarital adulterous affairs. Right. The same we can argue with Deshaun Watson, who of course was seen to have pristine character, right? Coming out of Clemson, going into the NFL draft process. We know Dabo Swinney, who of course is the head coach at Clemson, spoke effusively regarding his praises in terms of not only the type of football player that he is, but the type of young man that he was. And this would be someone that he would want his daughter to, of course, court, date, and marry. We're finding something completely different right now. So I just think this, of course, is an issue of concern. Hopefully, we would hope that what is being alleged isn't true just for the sake of the victim, right? You would hope that, the person didn't experience that. But I think also this is a cautionary tale for, of course, Black men, that you have to have a high level of self-discipline. In fact, I can recall the late Kevin Samuels would always argue that you can't be a high value man if you don't have penis discipline. If you can't control yourself sexually, there's no way that you could be a high value man, let alone a man of value at all. And so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that, a lot of the young men who are most virile and had a highest level of testosterone before, they have the wisdom to know to do what's right and what's wrong. So if you're a young man and you're new to the world, and we have to keep in mind that even though Deshaun Watson might be a very wealthy man, he is extremely young. And the
This
first
is true.
allegations happened when he was probably in his early 20s. Am I
No,
saying
the
right?
first accusation happened in 22. So he was 21 to 22. So he was about 25, 26.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, you give a young person. I mean, that's still a baby, and yeah, you're supposed to
But
be
you're old enough
mature
to know what
enough.
the French toast you're doing when you're 25, 26 years old.
Right, you're supposed to be. Yeah, so it's looking like, he's immature or he's having trouble growing up. So yeah. Yeah, so it's unfortunate that, when you have all of that, talent, that you don't have the wisdom to be smart about all of the physical gifts that God gave you to begin with. So, it's
Well, yeah,
unfortunate.
we'll see how things go. Yeah. So
Right.
I appreciate you tapping in, Brother Sandman. We're going to close things out. Until next time, family, you all know what to do. Always bet on Black. Peace.